everybody, Tiger here, going to continue with video number 2 in the Hardcore League How to Achieve 5 of 5 video series that I'm making. I am on my character Platinum. I am level 3 now. I did some things since the last time I played. I will go over what those things are. We spoke last time about how I feel that making 2 characters, one that does Favor and one that does Reaper, is better, safer than doing 1 character or more 3 or 4 characters. But everybody's going to have their own opinion. This is my opinion. There are so many good players out there that there's many different ways to do this. I'm just sharing my experience. And so for me, I made 2 characters. Platinum, which I am playing now, remade, was my Reaper character, which means that I didn't do any quests really on Reaper and Heroic. I did normal through Elite and Slayer zones and got all the way to level 30 as fast as I could, and then I worked on Epic Destinies and Twists of Fate and on getting as many destinies filled that I could, so I could run the Reaper 3 and 4 quests that we were doing for the first time bonus. I was in Enlightened Spirit. The build is, I'll link it, the build for my Warlock is on the DDO forums. And then for my Favor tune, I did Mary Has a Little Bear build, and that is a build that I played all 3 rewards for the Favor, so 1750, 5000, and level 20. And the reason why I did that is because it, for those of you who know the build, that's also linked on the DDO forum. That is a mix between a druid, and it has levels of artificer, so it can trap. So and it has levels of barbarian, so it can do blood tribute. So it's a very survivable for heroic elite questing. I can get all the traps, even up until when you go out to Shavarath and you are level 19 and you're doing those quests on elite. Those, I think I blew up 1 box and I wasn't paying attention. I think I rolled a 1. Had I buffed or prepared myself, I don't think I would have blown that box, but that was the only box. So the baby bear build is pretty solid for trapping. And you'll see on Hardcore League lots and lots of players playing artificers and rogue splashes. Pure Artificer, Warforged are fantastic. We talked a little about race yesterday when I mentioned that I like Drow, so I made Platinum a Drow. But certainly was not an ideal pick. It's probably, like I've said, the worst choice you could play a Drow on Hardcore League. They are literally like the worst race to play now. And it's not because they're bad. It's just all the other ones are so much better. Tiefling, for example, not only do they have an amazing racial line of skill that they have access to, but right out of the box, they're immune to fear. Fear immunity at low level is OP. I mean, you know, because that's all the little kobold shaming casters, they throw scare at you and lightning bolts, and if you're immune to the fear, you just have to jump out of the way of the lightning bolts. No other race, by the way, even halflings, which you would think they should be, if any race is going to be immune to fear, it should be a halfling, but they don't. They get bonuses to fear. And you know, initially when SSG released tieflings, I complained that tieflings should not be. It's too powerful for a player character to just come into the game immune to fear, because that makes them, for those of you who don't know, they're immune to all fear effects, and there are many fear effects in DDO that will not only ruin your day, but can insta-kill you. For example, once you hit the ruins of Threnal, you come across Thrak Hounds, and they cast Phantasmal Killer spells. At low level, I mean, a combination between them doing Cyclonic Blast and Phantasmal Killer, and they can kill a bunch of people in the party. So for you to be immune to Phantasmal Killer on Hardcore League, and immune to fear effects in general, is a fantastic choice. Another choice that is fantastic race-wise for Hardcore League are Warforged. Warforged have, because they're constructs, have inherent immunities to things like poison, I believe some disease immunity, like natural disease, natural poison. Once you get into supernatural and magical, most races are affected by those in some way. But Warforged can't drown, for example, so you don't need to worry about underwater action on a Warforged. You just can do your thing. So if you go and do Tempest Spine, the raid, at level 10, and you do that long swim, you don't have to worry about drowning. Back in the day, people used to drown doing that swim. I'm not sure if people still do, because everybody's probably done that raid 1,000 times. But if you're new to DDO, be advised when you do Tempest Spine, and you will do that on Hardcore League. That's not a quest that you skip. There is a very long swim, so you have to have a plan to get through that. I believe there's pockets of air and things, and underwater action is not that hard to craft. That's something that we can go over. There are a few very easy low-level things that you have access to craft right away. Underwater action, feather falling, death block. These things you don't need to have any skill in Cannith crafting. And as a matter of fact, on Platinum we can actually go and check and see what we need in order to craft that. So I'll go to House K. And while I run there, I'll talk more about, why having a favor tune that can trap, because you're not going into epics. Once you get into epics, the traps, they get a lot different. If you're in the Forgotten Realms, there's a lot of these sort of magical traps. They're symbols that you can disable. Usually they're not insta-kill, but and then the other zones where you would have epic level traps, the traps usually hit really hard, and because unless you're a pure trapper in epics, the DC on the traps gets much too high to be multi-classed. But in heroics, the DCs on the traps are reasonable enough that you can do a multi-class trapper on the Hardcore League and get the first 3 rewards, because remember, you only go to level 19 while you're working on your 5,000 favor. Once you get your 5,000 favor, then you can take level 20, and then now you have all 3 of your rewards. For those of you who don't know, I'm at the bottom of the pyramid here in House K, and these are the guild vendors. These vendors you cannot interact with unless you're in a guild, and the guild has to be a certain level. But Death Smile is, we hit a milestone, guild level 114. That's the highest level that's ever been on the Hardcore League. We broke our record last season. We hit 110. This season we hit 114. But so that gives me access to all of these vendors. The vendors are great. You can buy things slightly cheaper from them. The only problem with these vendors is that everything that you buy is bound. You can see it says binds to account on acquire. So if you buy a bunch of this stuff and you're in a group and one of your party members, say, runs out of a healing wand and you want to share one, you wouldn't be able to share. It's the same thing with the potions. All of these potions are bound to you, and you cannot share them. But one of the things that not a lot of people know is that this general vendor is the cheapest repair vendor in the game. This guy will charge you, I think he's 80% cheaper than every other vendor, even the vendor on the ship. I think the vendor on the guild ship, once you post the repair, you can wiki this, by the way, DDO wiki, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. See, it only cost me 1 platinum to repair my robe. I believe that's 80% cheaper than if you were to say go to any vendor in the market and repair it. And it's this guy right here. I learned that last year because guildmates wanted me to post the repair shop on the first deck. Usually I put it on deck 2. This is a preference thing, just how I always set up my guild ship the same way. You know, the people who run with me, now they know the layout. But so I did research on Wiki to find out if they were right, that that's in fact because the people were saying that they want access to that repair guy easily on the first deck because it's the cheapest. But what I found out is this guy is actually the cheapest repair in the game. So if you don't have much platinum, this is the place to go. You can see I did some questing. I am almost level 4. I did a lot of Korthos. I did all of Korthos Island with the exception of Misery's Peak. I did not do Misery's Peak. I have not done any of the level 1 quests that are out in the Borderlands. Something to know about the Hardcore League, that you can only enter a quest when you are within 4 levels of it. So these level 1 quests, I need to do them. The maximum I can do them at is level 5. So, you know, once I hit level 4 or 5, I have to get out there and get these done. And like I said to you in video 1, I'm doing everything on Elite. I don't have to on this character because, like I said, this is a Reaper tune. I'm only going to level 30 as fast as I can, but at low level, the quests are not difficult at all. So you can bang them out, especially in Korthos. Korthos is a starter area. You can bang them out on Elite, and it's pretty easy. Once you go out to the Borderlands, because that's newer content, these level 1s are harder, actually, than what you'll find out in Korthos. So that's why I'll wait to go out there to level 5. Some of the monsters, that's also another rule for DDO, that the newer content is way harder generally than the older content. Generally, not always true, but it's a good guide. So anything out of the Gatekeeper's Grove, for example, that you run will likely be much harder than something, say, in the harbor that you run. And I spent some action points since yesterday. I changed some things. I spec'd out of that because the PRR and the magic missile immunity, really, I'm not gonna benefit from them more than I'll benefit from this right now. My goal is to get Cone. I believe Cone is the best for heroic, low to mid-level, but in the very early levels, level 2, 3, 4, Chain is very, very nice because it will go behind you. I also get a damage boost here, plus 2d4 extra packed damage. And then I get this wand and scroll mastery to boost the effectiveness of my wands, which is very helpful for Hardcore League. Something else that's very helpful in this tree, Tainted Scholar tree, is great for Warlocks, is this: I get temporary hit points whenever I cast a spell. So you can see, if I heal myself, now I have a bonus plus 14 hit points. That is free hit points. It will stay on me for 3 minutes, and on Hardcore League, hit points matter. You want to get as many hit points as you can. It's one of the reasons that this build, you know, you can look at this build if you want to investigate it, but the first feat in this build is toughness. This build eventually is an Enlightened Spirit. It's not a tank. I don't ever shield block, and you can read that in my post. I am a jump around like a jackass build. It is a constant. One of the reasons I make a Fiend is so I can hurl. Hurl through Hell is the special ability of a Fiend Warlock, and that allows me to, with a skill, get rid of a champion. I will have DC, Necro DC, so I will be casting Finger of Death. So, once I get up in leveled, I can start insta-killing monsters. In Heroics, it's much easier than in Epics, and especially in Epic Legendary Reaper 4. It's not, I don't land a lot of hurls, but you do land them. You can finger things. It doesn't hit that often, but it still can help. And you're jumping around, bursting, and you've got a lot of temporary hit points. So it's a pretty solid build for Reaper Warlocks. I mentioned that I would talk about Warlocks and which I thought were the best for Hardcore League. I know a lot of people who play Warlocks on the Hardcore League, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. My opinion is that the Fiend is the best because of the Hurl Through Hell. Hurl Through Hell is the best of all of the Warlock special abilities. I do also like the Ice Warlock. I played that last season. I ended up respecing myself to Fiend once I got into Legendary content, but for all of Heroic and Epics, I was the Storm, the Ice, and that worked really well, although that was previous to a patch that they released that fixed the way some of the Storm Warlock spells work. So now, if all the spells are working correctly, I would say that the Storm Warlock is probably not going to beat out the Fiend. Nothing beats the Hurl Through Hell. Basically, that's the problem. I mean, if every Warlock had access to a Hurl sort of a thing, but they don't. The Ice one, you can trap them in ice. Okay. The Celestial one, you can hurl undead. I don't know if they fixed that, but also what it comes down to is the spell selection. I like the spell selection of the Fiend Warlock the best. I will say that the negative energy Warlock is awful. It's awful on hardcore. It's awful live. It's just awful. It's not implemented correctly. You don't have access to spells that you need as an undead. So, you really need to have Death Aura and Negative Energy Burst as an undead in order to heal yourself correctly when you are doing, especially Reaper content, because you can get smacked for almost all of your hit points constantly. And if you have no way to heal yourself quickly, it just would be such a headache. Unless you planned on running just normal and doing level 20 or maybe going to 1750, you could, play around on a negative energy Warlock. But my opinion of them is that they need to be rethought and made much more like the wizard, given some spells that are useful. The spells that they get are not useful at all. It's sort of a joke. So what we're going to do, since we are in House K, is we are going to run and see what I need to craft an underwater action ring. Because right now, the only thing I have, and I'm not sure everybody would have access to this, is the brooch that gives me water breathing for 1.5 minutes, and then I have this ring that does the same thing, although the ring gives a group cast. So if people gather around you and you have the ring, you can put air bubbles over everybody's head. But the trinket only does you. And so this is what I can craft. Underwater action. I need 5 small wooden idols and 15 white caps, you can see my chance of crafting it is 100%. And that's fantastic, because these items are not that difficult to find. I also need 10 Caneth essences, but Caneth essences are not hard to find. You can get them in gold rolls, silver rolls. You can also find them in chests. Also, on Hardcore League, once it's up and running and there are people running around, you could probably ask somebody for these mats and they would have them. Yeah, so that's it. I have pretty much the same gear. I did, like I said, Korthos, so I got bracers, I got a belt, I got a really crappy ring, still using my 2 scepters, but pretty much everything is the same. I have my barbarian if I need. I did the quest where you have to defend the crystal, and I used the barbarian there and was able to get that done. And so the reason people play trappers on the Hardcore League is, you know, a lot of people still solo, even though Hardcore League is a server that is very busy, especially the first month of the event. It's extremely busy. I would encourage you, though, if you are a solo player, to join groups and run with other people. Even if you are playing a build that is a multi-classed solo trapping build, it's very good to sort of make friends and get some help on the Hardcore League server. So what I would recommend that you do is stay away from characters that are extremely squishy. And what I mean by that are things like pure rogues. I mean, look, some people can play pure rogues and they will just wreck everything. But for the average player, especially if you're new, you can only wear medium armor, and you usually don't use a shield, especially if you're an assassin. An assassin would, you know, use daggers or some other small weapon. I believe it's daggers. And then if you went assassin Vistani, I know the damage is supposed to be really good, but unless you know how to play them well, they tend to be really squishy. Their self-healing is slow. They can use wands, potions, because they have a high UMD. But I would say that you should play whatever class you believe that you can play well enough and survive. A lot of people are really good with half-orc, barbarian, melee, and I've seen people wreck the content with those. A few people who went to 400,000 favor were playing on pure barbarians the last season. One of the guys that I know did a fighter barbarian. I believe he was on a dwarf, and he wrecked content. So, I mean, whatever you play best. I personally like spellcasters. So, warlocks, sorcerers. You know, my main on Sarlona is a sorcerer. Sorcerer is a great class for me because I play it well. Other people play wizards really well. Some people play undead wizards really well. Alchemist is phenomenal if you can play it. Now, I played an alchemist last season, and my opinion is they are super, super squishy. I'm not that good on them. One of the reasons why is that the way the alchemists have their healing implemented is wonky. You have to target your feet. Literally, like, if this were an alchemist, you have to angle the camera so you're looking at your feet and target yourself and throw a vial at your own foot. And if you are in the air jumping or falling, or if you don't target yourself, the vial goes shooting off into space. You literally can't heal yourself if you're falling and trying to heal with the healing spells from the alchemist. So I personally, if I were to do like a caster DPS, I'd play a sorcerer. and just UMD wands or something. But I know people who play alchemists really well, the nukers, and then there are people who do sort of mix inquisitive with alchemy levels, rogue levels, and they just throw everything into inquisitive and get the poison damage. And so that also can be really powerful. There's a lot of resources, like I said, on the DDO forums. If you're looking for a build, there's other people who post build. I have two builds, my favor build and my Reaper build. But I mean, you can look on the DDO forums and find some really good, solid builds for the Hardcore League. But yeah, I will say it again. You should focus on what it is that you like and you play well, because you'll have the best time during the event on a character like that. Just remember, plan for traps. Something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, but in the Hardcore League, traps are the #1 killer of everyone. There are some monsters like Kobold Shamans that do a lot of damage to people, but far and away, if for every 10 deaths, 9 of them are traps on the hardcore server. Most people who make mistakes, my death on Mary in hardcore season 3, I had 1 death. Luckily, that was the extra life event. Season 3, you earned extra lives. I was in a quest. You run into a room and there's a bunch of exploding barrels, and you find the biggest exploding barrel that you've ever seen. And I forgot that you can't trigger that explosion and run out of the room. I thought I could trigger it and run, and I triggered it and ran, and I got blown up. Very, very stupid. I should have remembered that. But for somebody who's in there for the first time, I mean, yeah, so my advice is don't blow up barrels. Just run by them. But be prepared for traps, because traps are extremely, extremely dangerous. After Hardcore League Season 1, when they analyzed the data, SSG looked at the trap data, and they found that traps were just murdering people at low levels. They went through the harbor quests, and they redid a lot of the damage that the low-level traps do. And so a lot of the really early traps that you encounter now are not insta-kill, but they are there for a reason, to teach you that traps are something to worry about. I personally liked it when they were all insta-kill, because that taught you don't mess around with traps at all. I mean, it's something that is very, on the board on Hardcore League server, you see a list with some, what happened to the person that died. They'll tell you what killed them. Traps kill people. Reapers in Reaper questing kill people, and certain mobs. I think with the release of the Feywild, we'll see a whole bunch of new mobs killing people, because when I ran through that content on Sarlona on my main, I noticed that some of those quests were very difficult at low level, and I predicted that we'll see a lot of those quests killing people once Hardcore League Season 4 starts. But there's a monster out in the Borderlands. Her name is Hera. She is a Medusa. You can fight her at level 3 or 4. And Medusas at that level are super deadly. She's an optional, by the way. You can skip Hera. You don't need to fight Hera. You don't need to go anywhere near her. People do, though. They open the cell that she's in and let her out, and you know what? They get killed. She turns them to stone. But you don't need to fight her. Something else to keep in mind is that when you are doing your Hardcore League rewards, let's say you did really well and you got to 1750. One of the things that you want to do, as soon as you hit that, as soon as you get 1750, you want to go to the Hall of Heroes, talk to the NPC, and unlock the reward. That will unlock it across all the servers. You can then log off Hardcore, log into your home server, get the reward there, make sure you have it, then go back to Hardcore League and play. I have seen across all 3 seasons, 1, 2, and 3, really good players. They earn their reward, whether it's 1750, 5,000, their Reaper Cloak, whatever it is, and they continue questing. They're in a good group, let's say. They don't want to log off. They don't want to break the stride of the group. And then, oops, they die. And what happens is if you don't claim that from the NPC, you lose it. It doesn't matter that you got to 5,000 favor. The game doesn't care until you turn it in at the NPC. You could have just wasted a month and a half or however long it takes. Some people do it in 2 weeks. But, you know, the average is about a month and a half to get 5,000 favor. Give or take. That's certainly not a guide. But the point is, go talk to the NPC. And we talked about the importance of doing first time. If you're going for the Reaper rewards, you want to maximize your first time Reaper XP. You can earn potions. If you have the DDO points, you can buy the 50% pot. A lot of people think that's pay to win. I agree, but you know what? DDO is a 14-year-old game. It is. They are still around now because you can buy stuff out of the DDO store. You can't buy skill though. You know, having a 50% potion on is not going to get you through those Reaper, whatever level you're doing quests. You still have to do the quests. What it will do, though, is save you time because you have to do less of the quest to get the reward. The money goes to SSG, keeps the lights on, keeps the game running. But you don't need to buy potions with DDO points. You can go and do the Cannith challenges and earn potions from them. You guys can post comments and let me know if you have another trick to get XP potions. What we'll do right now is take a run over to House Cannith and look at and see if my memory is correct. If you can actually get the, I think it's 5 or 10%. From running those challenges. Those House Cannith challenges are fantastic. The loot out there is still relevant, still worth farming for. Although, having said that, now that the Feywild is out and Feywild gear is level 5, and the set bonus for Feywild is fantastic for level 5. If you get yourself 7 pieces of Feywild gear, it may make this Cannith stuff irrelevant completely, but we'll check it out. So this is the gear. You can look at it. So there's Slayer count potions that you can get. I certainly could have been wrong. I always thought that you could earn experience. Oh, there they are. Okay, they're called elixirs off of this vendor. So you can get an experience elixir. It's 5% for 2 hours, and all you have to do is turn in those Orthon scraps. It looks like to me, because I know I've run these a lot, Orthon scraps come from the higher level quests. I believe it's one of these quests over here. And I don't know if you can enter these quests at low level. Yeah, see, I'm too low to enter these quests right now. This one you need to be level 12. That's level 8. I'm not sure which of these quests gives Orthon, but so it may be something that you have to plan for if you don't have DDO points. as you are Reaper questing, because you don't need these potions until level 30 when you're getting your first time bonus. That you do some of these quests, and there are groups for these. You'll see them because these quests give XP. Pardon me, they give great XP when you do them first time, but they also give you favor. They don't give a lot of favor. I believe it's 1 favor per star, and I think the maximum stars you can get is 6. I might be wrong. It might be 5. But so that's another 5 or 6 if you can do it, and there are groups who do it. Favor. And that will allow you, the reason to do that is because these aren't very difficult, and you can get favor, and that will allow you later on to skip like a very, if you did all 3 of these and you got yourself 15 extra favor, well, that would let you skip an elite level quest that's very difficult. For example, like Temple of Elemental Evil Part 2. I'm not sure how much favor that grants an elite. It might be 18. But you can see that you could quickly make that up. You want to keep in mind too, these challenges. You cannot do them when you are 4 levels beyond. You have to do them based on the level that the quest is. It's kind of tricky. Off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure. I think that they are considered to be minimum level 6, so the maximum you could do, like the first round of them, is level 10. But you'd have to wiki it or look on the forums. Somebody probably has posted something about that. Yeah, and we talked about Reaper and playing a character that you believe to be a character that you play well. Something else that I want to focus on, looking at my notes here, is that when you do a Reaper character, you want to pick a class that does a lot of DPS, high DPS. High DPS, you get into the flavor of the month, whatever the flavor of the month is, and you can find out whatever that is. I believe the flavor of the month right now, as of November 2020, are throwers. I think dagger throwers. I might be wrong, but I believe that's the flavor of the month now. It may also be Vistani assassins. I know barbarians were doing a crap ton of damage, 2-handed barbarians, but that's the point. You want something that does high DPS and has a lot of hit points. So my Warlock, when I hit level 30 and I fill out the destinies, and not a high DPS. Warlocks were nerfed so many times by SSG. I believe they were nerfed 6 times. I might be wrong. It might be 7. I think they nerf them every week just for the hell of it. I think they have just stomped them into the ground. For good reason. I mean, for a while their Warlocks were tearing everything apart. But now the DPS on them at level 30 is very low. It takes an awful lot of bursting or blasting to kill anything. You have to really like kiting when you play a Warlock because the damage is so low. Even if you get your gear tweaked out, the damage is still low. But the good thing about Warlock that I like is they get a lot of temporary hit points. So I believe Platinum, when I was playing her before the hardcore season ended, when I was working on my 400,000, I believe I was running with around 4,000 hit points fully buffed and with my temporary hit points on. I might be wrong about that exact number, but it was up there. It was between 3,000 and 4,000 somewhere. You want to definitely have over... God, my memory... I apologize. I may have said that wrong. My hit points may have been 2,000 to 3,000 now that I think about it. But you certainly need to have over 1,000. I would recommend that you have over 2,000. And barbarians, favored souls, the bear druids, those are very solid for Reaper questing because they can get a crap ton of hit points and do a crap ton of DPS. Alchemists also, if you build them correctly, can do a crap ton of DPS. Some of the best DPS can come from alchemists, sorcerers. If you know what you're doing with Inquisitive, you can get a lot of DPS, although they also were nerfed. Yeah, so play what you're good at. Keep in mind you want lots and lots of hit points and lots of DPS. Yeah, your hit point goal should be 2,000 or more hit points. When you hit level 30, you want 2,000 hit points or more when you're on the Hardcore League server. Um, you can still be killed really quickly with 2,000 hit points. Very quickly. Your goals for PRR and MRR are about 150 or more when you're level 30. For PRR and MRR, 100 or more. The more, the better. Get yourself some good gear. Farm. Go to Sharn. Go to the new Feywild if you have it. If you own it. If you own these. Sharn, Feywild, Ravenloft have all the best gear. Go there with groups. Farm the gear, whatever your build is. Talk to other people, look at the forums, find out what the set is that will maximize your hit points, maximize your DPS for that character. This is only for the Reaper. For Favor, it's different. Favor, you want obviously as much hit points as you can get, and you want to do DPS. But in Heroics, the DPS requirements are so much lower, the hit points are so much lower. If by level 19 you have 1,000 hit points in Heroics, you're doing phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, you know, the Heroics much different. You might see people running around with 300 or 400 hit points. You know, that's sort of low. And again, these numbers are going to change. Now that we have the Feywild out, the content is going to be harder out there. You may need more. The flavor of the month is going to be different because they released a bunch of changes. So by the time we get to the next Hardcore League, things might be different. So it's important to go to the forums, to read, to listen to people, go to the Twitch streams for the players who play DDO, listen to what they're saying about what, you know, what classes are owning and what classes used to be good but aren't anymore. A great example of that is Monk. Monk used to be fantastic, and then they had their DPS nerfed. So while they're still solid, if you wanted to do the heroic rewards, and while I ran with someone in Reaper who played a monk, a pure monk, fantastic, and Reaper content, again, you may be the guy or the girl who plays monks, fantastic. But for the general average player, monk can be a challenge. And that's true of anything. You know, I would say play what you're good at. I keep saying that, but that's true. Once you get up at level 30 and you've got your destinies all sorted out and you've got everything all set, one of the things that we can talk about are the dailies. So you'll get groups that meet up every day for Reaper questing, and they will do dailies. So you've got your first time bonus. Let's say you're going to 400k. Well, your first times are not going to get you to 400k. You need to log in every day and do Reaper questing, and there are a group of quests that people do every day. The quests in the harbor, illusionary larcener, the grin and bear it, the bunch off the top of my head. I can't remember, but people will know what these are on the Hardcore League server. There will be groups that log in and do this. Introduce yourself, meet people, try to get into these daily Reaper groups. A lot of the guys who run them are Twitch streamers. You can watch their streams, ask them if they can. One of the guys that I ran with is Newbie Cabra. He's a really great DDO player who I think he's got all of the rewards every season. I might be wrong about season 1, but I know he did 5 for 5 season 2, 5 for 5 season 3. He Twitch streams, and I was able to jump into his daily group. He is one of probably dozens of people who do the Reaper dailies, and this is just an idea. I'm not urging you to go and bother Newbie. Please leave him alone. But the point is, you know, find some groups, go out there and have some fun. and you can, tag along, get used to doing them. You also may already know dailies that you like and do whatever it is that you can to stay alive. That's really important because you know that running Reaper, things can go bad very, very quickly. You could get a really nasty champ spawn, and you could get multiple Reapers spawning just out of nowhere, instantaneous. So you have to be really careful that you take your time and go slow and listen to the group leader, whoever it is. Something else that people do a lot of thinking about is TRs on the Hardcore League server. Do you need to TR? Should I plan on TRing? Should I do my heroics, go to level 20 TR, and then do Reaper? I'll have a past life. I can get, a heroic or a racial past life. Should I go all the way to level 30, get an epic past life, and then get and then TR and go at it? A lot of people think about that. There are a few people who do play like that. Some of the better players, the people that you'll see high on the leaderboards, they do play TRing. I did not. You certainly don't need to. It does greatly increase the skill of your character to have the past lives and the survivability, especially if you got, like the barbarian one, you get some hit points. But I mean, let's be honest, these past life rewards, they're not so overwhelming that they're going to make or break a good player. If you take your time and you think about what you're doing and you run with good groups and you plan, you have all of the potions, you've got your gear, you got all of your destinies that you wanted, you got your twists, you're taking your time, you're with people who know the quest, or you know the quest really well, then you can get a lot done, get your rewards without doing a TR. But the rewards, all 5 of the rewards are attainable on a first life tune, on a 28 point build. You don't need to worry about TRing into a 32 points with past lives. I mean, you certainly can, but if your goal is to just get the rewards and get off the server, you can just do it with a first life. Patience is a virtue. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times you'll log in to the Hardcore League server and you'll be working on, let's say you're working on your 1,000 Reaper points, Reaper XP, or 400,000 Reaper XP, or 5,000 favor, and there's a quest you need. Like, I remember on Mary, when I was doing my 5,000, I needed the Tower of Frost. Tower of Frost is here in the marketplace, and I don't know that quest very well. I have run it. I have soloed it on Sarlona, but my Mary on Sarlona has like 50 past lives, and if you die, it doesn't matter. You can just do it again. But I don't know it well enough. It's right over here, this quest. So I don't know it well enough, so I wanted to find a group to run it with. And this happens a lot on Hardcore League. I logged in, and every day I checked for a group, and every day I saw nothing. And that went on for almost 10 days, which is a long time considering it's only a 90-day event. But then, out of nowhere, boom, I saw a group doing it. I jumped into that group. I sent the guy a tell who was running it, and jumped in. And this guy, he was on voice. He knew this quest inside and out. He ended up letting everyone who joined him just hang out at the entrance, and he finished it, and we all got credit for it. And that's something else that happens a lot. You know, if you're patient, you may see that quest that you don't like pop up, and there may be a group running it that know it and have already done it. The pit is another one. A lot of people either love the pit or hate the pit. The pit is a quest that if you don't know it can take a long time. I remember when when that quest was new, people would go in there and spend 5 hours in there. They would have like the pit quest night for the guild, and that's all people would do. Start the pit and just be in there all night from 8 o'clock to midnight. Now people can run that quest, I mean, in probably 20 minutes, and they can solo it. So you find a good group, you can get the quests that you don't like done really quickly. And this is all my experience. Your people watching this may disagree. It's a guide. I'm sharing information. It's all about having fun. I hope everybody's adventures go well. What we're doing, is here going over this stuff. Somebody may watch this and think, oh, I don't need to know any of that. I've already got this all figured out. And they probably will. They probably do 5-5 themselves. But, we are assuming that you're here and you're looking for some you're here looking for some tips and tricks. So here's another thing that I talked to you about yesterday. I have 1700 platinum, and this is the broker that I was talking about. That this is something that you should check when you play the hardcore league. These items right now would be whatever spawned on this guy when the server came up, because there's nobody playing. This is the after party. People are just transferring off, but you can see that this guy has gear and they're not that expensive. It's 1,000 platinum. There's nothing in this list that will help me on this character, but if there were a lot of people playing on the server, that vendor might have multiple items that I could use, and they are going to be sold here much cheaper than they would be on the auction house, for example. You can also sell things. You can sell weapons to the weapon broker. You can sell armor to the armor broker. And so you can see my robe is very crappy, but it happens to be better than the robe here. I could buy myself some armor and get a better armor class, but for the spell fail, I don't want the spell fail, so it's not worth it for me. Another great vendor to check are these clothing brokers, because every time the server comes up, they spawn. These items that they spawn are sometimes useful, although now with the Borderlands, you can go out there and get items that are better than these. But it used to be that you could find proof against poison items off of these vendors, water breathing, but I have not seen a water breathing item spawn in DDO in years. For some reason it got removed from the loot table. This is a useful item, this ring of lesser false life. I could buy a charisma ring, which will it help me? No, I'm at 22 charisma right now, but if I were sitting at 23, I do have a ring slot because I'm just wearing this crappy poison resist. Radiance doesn't help me, so but I'm not going to waste any of the money that I have on any of this stuff because nothing is super crazy good. You can sell to all these different pawnbrokers here. There's nothing on them now because nobody's playing, but and then in the Forgotten Realms, these vendors also exist over there. So I thought that we would run Dirks. Dirks is in the harbor. And like I said, we are trying to get to 30 as fast as we can. This is a Reaper tune. Even if it were a favor tune, we're going to stick with Elite. It's not worth bumping it up to Reaper to deal with a Reaper. I mean, you will find groups that do this on the Hardcore League, but in my opinion, it's just not worth it. Elite is fine. It gets you the maximum favor. It lets you stay safe. Something else to note on the Hardcore League server is that there are lots of side passages and optionals, and you want to avoid as many optionals as you can. You will get in groups that people will run optionals for XP, because sometimes the optional XP is really, really good. But for the most part, you're not on the Hardcore League to explore the quests and to run every optional and to talk to all the NPCs. And that's something that you do on your live server. That's something that you savor with your guild on your home server, and you know, you take your time and go through everything and really try to figure out the quests and enjoy the ambience of them and roleplay if that's your thing. Here, all we're doing is trying to get finished with the quest as fast as possible, because all that I really care about is surviving first. That's the first thing. A lot of people say all I care about is XP. No, that's not all you care about. The first thing you should care about is staying alive. Forget the XP. You can go back in the quest and redo it if you have to. You want to stay alive. Now, I'm not saying if the quest goes bad, you should cut and run and leave all your buddies. You know, this isn't one of those situations, but you should stick with the group. This is not... Hardcore League is not a server where you zerg like a live server. This is a server where you play Dungeons and Dragons as if you are sitting around a table with a bunch of people. Not everyone uses voice in DDO. A lot of people do use voice, but you know, there's a lot of people who don't. So when people are on voice, you can get a lot more of the feel like you're sitting around a table playing pen and paper with a bunch of people. But that's the approach. That's the mental approach you want to take when you're playing on the Hardcore League server is, you know, I'm with this group of people and I am going to stick with them and not run ahead, not be Leroy Jenkins or whatever the meme of the month is. You know, you're going to take your time. I am running solo, but if this were not the after party and people were on the server, I would probably not be soloing this content. I would probably do a group. So I just got distracted. Normally when I run that, I go for the... there's a guy hidden behind that door and he's got a chest. Now, it is something to think. I think I'm actually going to do it because he's not a hard fight. And like I said, you skip optionals, but he's right here and that's a chest, and I can use money. I can use items. Like you really want to sort of weigh getting through these quests as fast as you can, as safe as you can, because your number one is staying alive. The second thing is your favor. But you also need to build a power base of money. And so looting some chests, you can see I got a small wooden idol. Well, that's a piece that I need to make that underwater action ring. If I were a trapper, I just got some masterwork thieves tools. That's better than regular thieves tools. You can sell those or give them to guildies, or, you know, later on people will get +1, +2, +3. But for now, this stuff is all useful for me and I have nothing. So, you know, getting chests, I'm not going to get every chest in here, but this, oh, there's a shaman. You got to be really careful. Like we said yesterday, the wolves are dangerous because they can trip you. Kobold shaman kill a lot of people during the Hardcore League. And why is that? It's because of that lightning bolt. Did you see? He threw it at the wall. He missed me. Now here I have a potion of fire resist. Right now I have 5. I drink this, it goes up to 15. I happen to know, because I've done this quest 1,000 times, that there is a fire trap on these pillars here. You can trigger it and then jump back, and it's only a one-time trap. So you can, this is one of the easier traps, and you see it didn't do a lot of damage to me. I wouldn't recommend doing that on a trap that you don't know, but I know that one pretty well. Have to pay attention in here with these little kobolds for any shaman. I see the shaman in the back is dead. I killed the chief. We're looking for the 2 brothers. Here's the first chief's chest. If you need a shrine, there's a shrine in this, and you gotta open this door. Go to the other side.
The sewer has been opened.
I think I will look for muck as well, because if I pull a muckbane, even though I personally can't use it now, if this were a hardcore season, I would take a muck and either save it for a character like my baby bear build that could use it, or I would sell it on the auction house. Either try to get a couple shards for it, because shards are hard to get on the Hardcore League server. You can get shards with the gold roll. You can get shards by looking in your monster manual. For those of you who don't know, and you're trying to figure out ways to get shards, your monster manual, if you go through the manual and look at these, if this is glowing green, it'll have like an outline. You click on it, you can get astral shards. It's not a common reward, but you can. And that will allow you to have some shards, and then with the shards that you get, you can post things on the shard market and make more shards. So I have two astral shards right now. I could take, if I go, I'm going to try to get a muckbane. I could take the muckbane and post it on the shard market, and then maybe make myself 4 or 5 shards and start gathering. So I happen to know that there's a shaman around this corner. And you see, I went yesterday, I talked to you about why jumping around is important. You can see that I am moving so that they cast the lightning bolt, but it doesn't hit me because I'm not where they thought I was when they cast it. You can stand there and just take the lightning bolt in the face, and it might kill you, but I recommend that you jump and move and strafe, because with a spell like Lightning Bolt, which shoots like a ray, they actually have to hit you. You know, the game has a skill evasion, but you can evade yourself by moving. I think there's another shaman somewhere. No, he's dead. We did not get Muck, unfortunately. He'd be right here. So I got level 4. So I'm going to wrap the video up, but I'll take the level and look at the rest of my notes here. Yeah, we covered everything I wanted to cover in this video. So my rewards, they're all level 5, except this one's level 4. This is actually a pretty good +1 Constitution armor class and cold resist 8. Cold resist is good to have because of things like mephits. This one's PRR, which is great armor class, but I wouldn't use Insightful Combat Mastery. And none of these items are items that I would use, although the Combustion Wizardry is good, and it happens to be better than the one that I'm using. However, it does not have fire lore, and I want the fire lore to boost my crit. So I will try to get a level 5 item out of the Feywild, since that's the minimum level gear there. So I will just take this Constitution robe and save it for when I level up. And here we go. Oh, this would have killed me if I didn't have that feather falling on that I looted yesterday. And looking at my builds, I go with Charisma as my main stat every time I level up. Spellcraft and UMD. This allows me to heal. This is my damage. And then I want a good allure skill, so I'm going with Bluff. My feat, this is free. This is bonus to my saving throws. And then my spell. So my Warlock spells are not as good. Invisibility is a fantastic spell to have, because once I get level 6, I'm going to go and do the harbor quests that you need invisibility for, but I'm going to buy scrolls. So the one thing now that would really help me, probably the most helpful, is Blur, because Blur will allow me to stay alive. And remember, that's the #1 goal. Your goal is not #1 XP. Your #1 goal is to stay alive. So having Blur will allow me to cast and get a concealment bonus on myself, giving me, every time something swings at me, 1 out of 5 swings will miss. That is fantastic. It looks like I also got access to Web, which is a great spell. I need to go get spell components in order to cast that, but it's a good thing to have. I have no more action points to spend. At level 4, this would be the level if you had Reaper points that you could spend them, but I have not done any Reaper. I probably won't do any Reaper. So what I will do now is take this backpack full of stuff and go and sell it, and likely go to House K and buy some Cure Serious potions. Those Cure Serious potions will heal me for a lot more than the Cure Light. I'll keep the Cure Lights, but once I get up into level, higher level questing, I want to have a bigger heal. I'll also probably buy, once I am able to cast it, Cure Serious or Cure Moderate Wound Wands. Basically just keep upgrading my heal spells as fast as I can. Now, most of this stuff is not for me. I'm not going to wear armor. I am going to equip whatever the best robe is, and it looks like the best robe is this Constitution one. These goggles are actually better than the goggles that I have, but the goggles that I have a blue slot, and I don't have any slots on anything. I don't think slots are dropping now. I think there's a bug in the game. So I think what I'm going to do is keep these, sell those, because I probably want to slot a fortification item, so I have a little bit better fortification. And I will save this acid resist potion for when I come across content that has acid. This robe is kind of gross, but it's not terrible. Looks like a wizard robe, but orange. Yeah, so that's it. I'm just going to do a few more quests and likely pick one that I'll make the next video. So I hope adventures go well, and I will catch you next time. Join us for more. I plan to do lore videos for each quest in DDO, as well as the raids. Plus, I will be releasing more Session 0 videos for DDO on topics such as player character races, the religions of Eberron, the Last War, and the Mournlands, the Dragon Marks, the Dragon Marked houses, and much, much more. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below. I like interacting with other players. My main tune in DDO is named Mary. I am on Sarlona. I also have a guild on the Hardcore League. My guild is Death Smile. Please say hi if you're on either of those servers. Subscribe to see more Adventure AI content about DDO, Dungeons & Dragons Online, and gaming in general. I also play Star Wars The Old Republic. You can join us at Adventure AI on Discord. Check us out on Twitch. Check us out on Twitter. You can go to our Patreon and become a patron of the channel, where you would get access to all of the scripts, the images, the music, the videos, as well as behind the scenes, and the ability to request topics for me to make future videos. Thanks very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope your adventures go well.